In December of 1974, there was a major headline on the editorial page of the Atlanta Constitution that said Jimmy Carter is running for what? And the what was about this day. I'm running for president.
Jimmy Carter entered the Democratic presidential race a political unknown. Outside of Georgia, hardly anyone even recognized his name. But that would change.
Jimmy who?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy who?
I don't know who he is.
Jimmy Carter's baseball player, isn't he?
Well, I got nothing against him. Looks to me it's all right. You know what I mean? He's a Democrat, right?
He's a people's man.
He's sexy?
Wait a minute now.
What do you mean by that?
I've never thought of Jimmy Carter as sexy. I think that if it comes down to it, people would say more that Gerald Ford is sexy because he was a football player. Carter sexy? I just think he's a very neat man.
Yeah, I think he has a nice smile. How do you do?
What his bushy hair flying all around? I heard he was a peanut farmer.
I don't think it makes any difference, you know, I mean, whether he's a peanut farmer or not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with peanuts as far as I'm concerned, you know.
I picture him like one of us. One of the working people, one of the common people.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you the next President of the United States, Jimmy Carter.
Sometimes introductions are hard to follow. I remember about 5 years ago when I was running for governor, and the young man who introduced me had done a great deal of work on my background, and he got up and said, we have with us tonight, at that time, Senator Jimmy Carter from Plains, Georgia. He went to Georgia Southwestern College where he studied chemistry, and then he said he went to Georgia Tech where he studied engineering, and then he pointed out that I had gone to the U.S. Naval Academy and received a degree in naval science. And then he said he went to Union College in Schenectady, New York, where he did his graduate work in nuclear physics. And now he said he grows peanuts for a living.
Jimmy Carter's roots go deep into the dark red soil of southwest Georgia. He was born near the small farming town of Plains, but like many young people, decided against continuing the family tradition. Eventually, he ended a promising career as a naval officer to return to the land, resuming the work of his parents and their parents before them.
My children will be the sixth generation on the same land. And although I've had a good chance to get an education as an engineer and a scientist, nobody in my family before my generation ever had a chance to finish high school. We've always worked for a living. We know what it means to work.
The determination, the self-discipline, the pure exertion that helped Jimmy Carter build a successful farming business would also see him through a punishing campaign, a campaign that was marked in the beginning by loneliness. There were no reporters, no cameras, no Secret Service nearby when Jimmy first walked up and introduced himself to countless voters. This style was unheard of for a presidential hopeful, but for Jimmy Carter, there was no other way.
I want to be tested in the most severe possible way. I can't think of any more severe way than campaigning 250 days this year outside of Georgia, or entering 31 different primaries. I want the people of this country to know my character, my strengths and my weaknesses, my stand on the issues. If I can measure up to what the American people want our government to be, I'll be elected. Jimmy Carter from Georgia. I hope to be your next president.
And so he traveled to the towns, the cities, to the meeting halls and factories, the supermarkets and sidewalks, talking to as many people as he could meet in as many states as he could visit. Gradually, he began to close the gap between Jimmy Carter unknown and Jimmy Carter, a candidate to be considered. New Hampshire, the first primary, the first state in which voters would make their choice. Traditionally, no candidate who lost in New Hampshire ever won the presidency. In the final days, a group of Georgia supporters, often referred to as Carter's Peanut Brigade, flew into New Hampshire.
Hello, are you Mrs. Call?
Yes.
I'm Dot Paget, and I'm a volunteer from the state of Georgia.
If we had snow on the ground like this, we'd be paralyzed for a week. We couldn't get out of the house.
Her schedule was grueling, almost as tough as her husband's. Yet through it all, Rosalind remained an earnest and gracious campaigner.
People ask me every day, how can you stand for your husband to be in politics and everybody know everything you do? And I just tell them that we were born and raised and still live in Plains, Georgia. It has a population of 683, and everybody has always known everything I did. And Jimmy has never had any hint of scandal in his personal or his public life. I really believe he can restore that honesty, integrity, openness, confidence in government that we so sorely need in our country today. I think he'll be a great president.
The last vote was cast and the polls were closed. As darkness fell over New England, candidates met once again with their supporters and anxiously waited for the first returns of the primary season.
Jimmy Carter took a long lead tonight in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. He won the New Hampshire primary handily. CBS News.
When the official results were announced, Jimmy Carter had won 30% of the total popular vote.
The New Hampshire results show that in New England, being from the South was not the handicap that many people thought it would be there.
Thank you very much for coming by.
I've enjoyed it.
Other victory celebrations would follow, but few would be as gratifying to the dark horse candidate from Georgia.
I remember when we couldn't find a microphone.
The primaries came in rapid succession, like firecrackers on the 4th of July.
Sixteen and a half months ago, on the 20th day of January 1975, I began to campaign for president, recognizing that I did not hold public office, I did not have a political base, I did not have a nationwide campaign organization, we didn't have much money, we had a family and a small number of volunteers, I'm sure most of whom are in this room. And we began to go from one living room to another, one livestock sale barn to another, one union hall to another, one shopping center to another, to talk to people in this nation and to listen and to learn.
The people listened to the simple way Jimmy Carter voiced the high ideals of the Democratic Party. They showed their approval with feverish excitement, a far cry from the polite and solitary handshakes of months before. And the smile that greeted those early voters, it had become as familiar as the morning paper. It's a long way from Plains, Georgia to Washington, D.C. The strength of a person can be measured by the path he takes to travel there. For Jimmy Carter, that road was one of hard work and determination. It's the same road that has been traveled for more than 200 years in this country by people who could see in hardships freedom and in obstacles opportunity. Those men and women literally built this nation from the land, nurturing a dream with dedication and the sweat of their brow. The seasons have turned into centuries now, but the traditions they planted will continue to grow.
We can all see a greater nation. I have a vision of America, a vision that has grown and ripened as I've traveled and talked and listened and learned and gotten to know the people of this country. I see an America poised not only at the beginning of a new century, but at the brink of a long new era of more effective and efficient and sensitive and competent government. I see an America that has turned away from scandals and corruption. I see an American president who governs with vigor and with vision and affirmative leadership. A president who is not isolated from our people, but a president who feels your pain and who shares your dreams. I see an America on the move again, united, its wounds healed, an America entering its third century with confidence and competence and compassion, an America that lives up to the majesty of its Constitution and the simple decency of its people. This is my vision of America. I hope you share it, and I hope you will help me fight for it.
I heard a young man speaking out just the other day, so I stopped to take a listen to what he had to say. He spoke straight and simple, by that I was impressed. He said, once and for all, why not the best? He said his name was Jimmy Carter, and he was running for president. Then he laid out a plan of action that made a lot of sense. He talked about the government and how good it could be for you and me. Oh, that's the way it ought to be right now. Once and for all, why not the best?
I want to see us once again have a nation that's as good and honest and decent and truthful and competent and compassionate and is filled with love as are the American people.
He spoke straight and simple, and I began to understand. Oh, I was listening to quite a man talking to me, and I began to see we need Jimmy Carter. Why settle for less, America? Once and for all, why not the best? We need Jimmy Carter. We can't afford to settle for less, America. Once and for all, why not the best?